AIM-listed Block Energy's recently raised £12 million to fund an accelerated project development of its West Rustavi onshore oil and gas field in the Republic of Georgia. It follows what the company says have been excellent production test rates. Paul Hayward is Block Energy Chief Executive. So an accelerated move onto this field. Give us some more depth about what you're going to be using this money for.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me, Jeremy. So company's just completed a £12 million raise, as you just explained. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is all part of an accelerated programme. The successful well test at West Rustavi 16AZ has really driven the company to reevaluate what was originally a slow and steady growth programme and significantly accelerate things, which also includes additional wells being drilled throughout the permit, a 3D seismic programme to be acquired to ensure that our well placement is optimal going forward, whilst also looking at additional acquisition opportunities. So we were busy throughout phase one, but phase two is kicking up in terms of activity.
Remind us what the proven reserves are here, because my understanding is, and we've spoken previously about this and your big rise in share prices over the first quarter of this year. Remind us what it is that you've got in terms of capacity potential.
Well, there are two large numbers which have been attributed to both the oil play in West Rustavi and the gas play. In terms of oil, we've got 38 million barrels of 2C resources that's been attributed to our upper, middle and lower Eocene zones, which is the play in which we've just somewhat proved up with 16AZ. The larger play, or the headline number for the company, is of course a contingent gas resources of just over 600 BCF, and you know that's a game-changing play for the company, of which we plan to reappraise some gas discoveries that have been had throughout the West Rustavi permit as part of this next phase of work, and we expect to have that work, or at least a piece of that work, executed by the end of this year. I should also point to the fact that the numbers that we're currently working off of were defined from a CPR that was completed back in 2017. Since that time, we've completed a hell of a lot of subsurface work and of course drilled an extremely successful well. So part of the next phase of work will also include an upgrade of the existing CPR. So we'd expect an increase in reserves and most definitely an increase in contingent resources, that's for sure.
Realistically, sitting in your position as you are in the CEO's seat, what are you expecting to come out of the subsequent drill holes that you're trying to work on?
We've got a production target, a 12-month production target of anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 barrels a day. 1,500 barrels a day at $65 Brent, and we'll kick off around $1.5 to $1.67 million of free cash for us a month. But there's a broader plan here, and as I alluded to earlier, you know, originally we went into West Rustavi seeking to execute a very slow and steady development program, but you know, consequent to the most recent fundraise and the company taking a more aggressive stance on its development program, we'd expect, you know, over a 3-year term to be up at around 8,000 barrels of oil a day, whilst also bringing some new gas wells online too. So we'd like to see gas production up at around 15 million cubic feet a day, and net for net, that will offer a combined free cash flow to the company of around $25 million. So medium to long term, increase oil production, build out gas production. Short term, continue to do the same. Continue drilling successful wells and increasing existing oil production. And
what potentially does that do to the share price? Because that, at the moment, doesn't represent that sort of potential daily capacity.
No, absolutely not. I think, you know, the market is slowly catching up. Yeah, we've obviously been banging the drum on how exciting Georgia is for us for the past year, and I think 16AZ is somewhat kind of ignited the interest of the market in exactly what we're doing in Georgia. But I think things are still catching up. But you know, we're extremely well funded now to execute the plan originally outlined in West Rustavi, albeit a more aggressive plan, and also look at building out our position in Georgia.
Insofar as 16A is concerned, just remind us what this has the potential to produce, because I know that you started out with 325 barrels of oil per day as the original target, but my understanding is, of course, this has gone far beyond that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We obviously smashed expectations in terms of our initial production rate for 16AZ. We tested it actually we tested it over 1,500 barrels a day. Once we stabilised the well and we cleaned up the well, we had an average test rate of around 1,100 barrels. So the well has outperformed expectations. The company wants to continue with its conservative approach on forward programs and focus on under-promising and over-delivering, and that's exactly what this next phase of work is set up to do. But extremely excited with what we've got in West Rustavi, hence why specific focus is being made on developing that asset going forward.
Yeah, and I know you said before that overnight you pretty much doubled Georgia's production. What about capacity in terms of storage? Because that is a bit of a headache for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have. We're in the process of accelerating the periods in which we can sell our crude. We're also in discussions with two major oil trading companies, one of which is currently assaying our crude. The oil producing West Rustavi is extremely light and sells at Brent minus a small discount, hopefully a smaller discount when we're able to formalise an agreement with one of the larger traders that we're currently speaking to. But an update will be put out to the market as and when that agreement is formulated.
Finally, additional projects. What are you working on at the moment?
There's lots in the pipeline. As you can expect, given the results that we've had in West Rustavi, there's a hell of a lot of attention from the industry throughout the surrounding region. Part of which explains why we've had to accelerate our work programme, because I believe that the environment in which we operate in Georgia will become somewhat more competitive over the shorter term. So it's within our interest to nail down the opportunities that we've identified over the past year or whatnot. So we're looking at lots right now, but it's probably that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, okay, we'll look forward to that other time. In the meantime, thanks indeed for joining us, Paul, with an update there for Block Energy. That's the Chief Executive, Paul Hayward.